So Penny, thank you so much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership.
Thank you.
But you're most welcome. Great to have you on the show, Penny. And before we walk into the future, can you please tell us a little bit about your background? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up along the coast, just south of Durban, Amanzimtoti, and as such, you get to be a water baby from day one, just about. So I have two younger brothers, and as far as I can remember back, we were always doing some kind of sport, and of course, swimming being the primary sport from a young age.
And tell us, what was your dream career when you grew up?
Well, I think I went through some phases. Very young, I thought I would be, before I even knew what the scientific name is, I thought I wanted to be a fish doctor, which I think was just inspired by the dolphins I was seeing. We had a nice sea view. But later on, obviously, I realized it's marine biology. And to be very honest, the scope for marine biology in South Africa is, while we have the oceans, it's not really, I think, a career path that offers that much opportunity, at least not in South Africa. But very quickly, I went from there to the idea of, I know I used to pretend I preached to my brothers for their own good. And so I can't say I thought ministry, but in a sense. And I think the most serious ambition, I think, that I took through right up until end of high school, until swimming became really serious and kind of as overwhelming and committed as it needs to be, I fancied the idea of still going into medicine, specifically surgery, that direction. So I'd say that's probably growing up, the career path I thought I would follow.
And tell us who or what inspired you in your early days.
I think it's a number of things. First of all, both my parents. It was always a very positive environment, encouraging myself and my younger brothers to believe in our talents and that it's God-given gifts. And we have a responsibility with that to develop it to the best of our ability. And of course, on that basis, I would say the driving force throughout, my school career and at the same time, um, even the golden thread throughout my swimming career would have been the fact that I have these talents and someday I'm going to answer to the Lord for the talent I have, and I need to do the absolute best I could. So it was very much a faith-based journey, and the inspiration slash drive, the force that kept me going even when I absolutely hated swimming would have been my faith.
Now, Penny, you reached the very pinnacle of your sport. You became the most successful swimming athlete in the 20th century. You won 2 gold medals in Atlanta. You broke 14 records. And today you're an author. You speak to leadership teams. While it all may appear as one straight line of success, looking back over your career, would you say there was turning points where things could have gone different?
Mm, definitely. I don't think anybody can look back on their careers and not see, some usually the turning points are usually great disappointments that end up being the catalyst for change, and that change is where a new direction is chosen or a new passion or an invigoration um, to continue, is bred out of that, let's say, disappointment. So if I look back on my career, there are distinctive points that were based on perceived failures. So it never is a journey, as you say, like that, a straight line. It's always this roller coaster. And I learned from an early age that it's in the midst of those failures where, first of all, you cannot see the potential of tomorrow. The only way you get there is when you keep on going. And for that, you need something to get you, to inspire you to keep on going. And I always say that whatever you do in life, you need to know why you're doing it, and it has to be or records or heaven forbid fame. And I think the same in the world of business. It cannot be that you want a certain position or paycheck. It's got to be something very deep within you that inspires you to continue, because otherwise, in those difficult times, you'll give up. And invariably, those times, go hand in hand with severe disappointment. So there were a couple of definite points in my career. I mean, I could continue and explain some of it if you wanted, but it could end up being a very long story.
Now, Penny, tell us what is motivating you today? What is driving you today?
I would think it's the same thread that, I believe we're all here for a reason, for a purpose, and it's got to be greater than ourselves. I think the day that we've fulfilled whatever that purpose is that God's designed us for will be taken. So I recognized that and I'm humbled by the fact that I feel, and based on what others say, I feel that not only did I have a swimming talent, but I do have a talent for teaching. I love teaching, the communication part of it, and I believe that the purpose of my swimming career was, as much as it gave me great joy and it meant whatever it did to others, it really is to give one a platform to make a difference in the lives of others. So the thing that inspires me today is the opportunities I have to be able to use that platform to be able to share my story, which I think is not so much about sport, but rather the principles I took out of it, which I think is applicable to everybody in life, be it in a family sense, a parenting sense, and even the business world. So I feel inspired by that, the opportunities I have, and then obviously people around me. I believe whatever we do in life, an important part of our success is the team we have around us. And for me, I'm very, very blessed to have the right people. And you may even say a mentor in by way of my business partner, Zelda van Vieren, who's always coming up with new ideas and new projects. So, whether I feel like it or not, I guess that's the driving force behind the things we do right now.
And Penny, looking into the future, as a global leader, as somebody who's leading a career, who's leading future leaders, who's leading teams, who's helping others to lead, what does the future of leadership mean to you?
I think it's vital because, especially living in a country like South Africa, it's so necessary that we develop and nurture the right values and qualities in the people that we have influence over so that they will be the leaders of tomorrow. Sad to say that today the leadership that we're so often exposed to, and I'm speaking specifically in terms of our country, it's not the kind of leadership values that we want to aspire to. So it means a lot to me that not only am I, if we talk in the context of sport, not only am I busy developing athletes, to be very honest, that's secondary to me. It's rather about the person. How do I use the sport as a catalyst to get them in front of me, first of all, and then to build them as a person? So it's a holistic approach, and I'm very fortunate that often it's young aspiring athletes I'm working with, or again, I'd say younger corporate people, often in leadership, conferencing, that kind of stuff. It's the people that are still growing into their full potential. And it's very important to me that we nurture the right values, I would say, so that they are successful, but not successful in the sense that it's their own success only, but that they are building teams and people around them, making that contribution to larger society through their leadership, which I believe should be based on servant leadership, leading by example, basically putting others before yourself, helping them to become the best that they can be.
Now, Penny, in your work that you're doing with developing future leaders, what is it that we have to do? We as leaders in the country, in the world, what is it we have to do more to develop future leaders and to encourage future leaders?
I think, as I said, lead by example, and some of the values I would say that are, there's so many we can touch on. But taking from my sporting career and, how does it play into individual development and also team development? One of the foundational things would need to be trust. How do you build trust between yourself and the people you work with? Because that's the example. Without trust, you can't have collaboration. We need to have collaboration so that we can be a success. And I think true leaders recognize that they don't have all the answers. They need to be teachable, open to learn. I think there's so many buzzwords out there today if we really wanted to play on that, but to put it in my own language, I would say that we need to be open to change. We need to be adaptive. and embrace what others can teach us. So, as a leader, I'm not only a teacher, but I'm also a student. And that diversity, when we build teams of ensuring that we have a group, not only everybody on the same page, we need to have people that'll share different views, that bring different strengths to the party. So, really, it is a team effort. And the best teams are the teams who have experts who are pursuing personal excellence, because I always say success is really just the reflection of excellence in the details. So I think a very common example that we often see is the whole thing of the Formula One race car in the pit and how the team works together to very quickly get everything done, and the guy changing the tires not trying to fiddle with the engine. We know our role, we play to our strengths, and we help others discover their role, their strengths, build them up so that together we can be a success.
In fact, I believe you call it you should swim in your own lane, right?
Correct. I always say swim your own race, which is very much a metaphor, I think, for life.
Yeah.
But definitely in swimming, it's a cliche already, but it's true. I think in any sphere of life, if I take any single lesson out of my swimming career, it would be that the challenge to swim your own race, because it's so tempting, even when you don't mean to, you catch a glimpse of others. And the minute you do, you try and live up to their expectation, or you want what they have, or you feel threatened by what they have, and you're competing. And I just believe if you have a purpose and you've got the tools, God-given tools to be able to achieve that purpose, the fastest way to do that is a straight line. If I swim my own race, it means focusing on the details, the things that I can control, and doing it to the best of my ability. In the world of sport, the key is control the controllables. But I think so often, whether it be in business, family, sport, we're so busy worrying about the things we actually have no control over. So it's coming back and being very focused and aligning our goals with the talents that we have, the opportunities we have, making the right choices, and then taking that responsibility to follow through.
Now, Penny, you spoke about challenges, and these are obviously challenges times as the world is stumbling from one challenge to the next. Um, what is your advice for future leaders? How should they tackle challenges in their career and overcome these challenges?
I think the first thing is to realize that we cannot look back at any successful example in life who, where they haven't had some incredible challenges. I think every single challenge is a catalyst, as I said, for change, and you cannot grow and improve if you're not willing to change. So I say embrace those perceived failures, embrace the difficult times, because that's sort of the fire, the furnace that purifies. And I would say be patient with yourself, because often it's very frustrating when you keep trying, and you're just not moving forward, be it in sport or any kind of area of life. I think often self-doubt creeps in. And with the self-doubt, you feel like it's time to give up. Maybe this is a sign. And I always say, when I specifically speak to athletes, but in anything again, if you have that deeper reason driving you and you really believe in your purpose, then, or that at very least that you have a purpose, I think it comes back to also self-perception and understanding that you are more than what you do. Your value is deeper than your actions per se. That you cannot live up to your full potential. And realizing that sometimes you have to make decisions. You have to take the opportunities that come your way, as difficult as they may be, despite how you feel. And I think for the leaders going through difficult times, naturally our emotions get the better of us. We feel like giving up. We feel like I'm no good. And sometimes you don't have the team around you that says the right stuff to help you feel that motivation to keep going. And that's where you got to draw back on that deeper thing. And for me personally, this is just my view, my experience. This is how I did things, and that's based on faith again. Every decision I made, every tough time I went through, it was dealt with very of believing that that God is in charge, that He's got a better plan. I just got to keep going and trust in that.
And Penny, if you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are maybe one or two key skills you would want to factor in and teach?
Wow, there's a lot. I would say adaptability in this day and age, embracing the change that we face, embracing the opportunities we have, and I'm speaking specifically in terms of technology, opportunity to grow and learn because that's just how we keep improving. So I think that's one of the skills. And I think sometimes when we feel we're successful, we kind of sit back on our laurels and we're not so open to making changes. We're not always so teachable. So I think that's very, very important. And I think then it would be the empathy and the value of um, putting others first, making sure that you are helping them again grow and navigate through their difficult times. And in the world of sport, I would think something very dear to my heart is the aspect of mental health. I think leaders of today need to focus, you know, be very focused on mental health and helping both their employees, their athletes, whomever, to maybe move past the stigma of that and realize that we all we need to be healthy in that way and have the balance because without balance we also can't be successful.
Absolutely. Now, Penny, as a mentor to so many future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
Um, That's not the easiest thing to answer because often you mentor people and then they move on. And, I do a lot of online mentorship. So I have people in America, wherever, and I know they're making progress and then they move on and I don't necessarily know what they're doing. But a person that comes to mind is a young swimmer I worked with years ago from I think about the age of 14 and very talented in many spheres and sometimes that poses the problem of what direction do I choose. Academically very strong in swimming but could have been just as successful internationally in track and field. And this swimmer, I think in South Africa today, it's very easy to still want to stay at home, go to university in South Africa. It's comfortable. But fortunately, she eventually decided she'd go to the United States on scholarship. She swam, she studied a couple of majors. And one of the things I was really excited about is she actually took a internship over one of the summers at NASA. Now, for a girl coming from South Africa to actually go to NASA and be one of the top people who have an opportunity over there was quite amazing. I believe she went on to another university, continued studying, and when she was done with her swimming career as such, she then went on to the university's track and field team, where she's continued to compete with them. And I think obviously she's got some great opportunities going forward in terms of career choices, in terms of leadership positions within her various teams as well.
And Penny, looking back over your own career, are there any role models of leadership who you have encountered and maybe worked with who you would recommend future leaders should learn from?
I think, I mean, outside of sport, there are people you mentioned Margaret Nienaber earlier on. I mean, I don't know Margaret that long, but looking at her, the kind of person she is, the humility, the values she has, given as successful as she is, she's still so down to earth. And that's something that really struck me. And her balance in terms of, I see her often with her kids. And that's just, it's amazing to me how she's able to make the time for that. So that's, I don't think I've had specific people per se in terms of the leadership out there in the world that people would know their names. But I always take kind of the values from them that I feel, is something I could learn from and apply. I think in the world of sport, people like Michael Phelps, Biles, just because of the fact that people just see the end product. You see them on the podium and you think it's all nice. Meantime, I always joke and say there's a great trauma to success. It's not an easy road to navigate in terms of who am I, my personal identity, what do I do next, the mental health issues, overcoming those setbacks and being brave enough, if you look at both of them, brave enough to deal with their issues in the public eye. And today they are models to others who are struggling, not necessarily want to do it very publicly, but I think they have been catalysts to bring about great change in the world of sport. And I think it translates into the world of business as well, that people, there's no stigma attached to mental health. You've got to deal with it. And, you know, we're all just people, we're all fallible, despite what we may have achieved in the eyes of others. We're all the same.
Thank you. Now, Penny, how can our listeners connect with you and where should they follow you?
Okay, I am really bad when it comes to social media. I mean, I am on LinkedIn. I don't think I've ever posted anything. Very rarely have I posted on what's it even called? Instagram. It's usually around
Yeah,
the time of Olympics when I have something to say and congratulate people. So I'm not really on social media. I think the best way to connect with me would be through my website, pennyheyns.com. And there it also talks about the various things that I offer and that myself and Zelda, my business partner, are involved with. And the core of everything we do really involves developing people mentally, physically, spiritually in a holistic way, and often through the medium of sport. So I think that's the best way for people to touch base with me, probably.
thank you. And Penny, last but not least, what is your message to the millions of learners out there who just finished school, who are looking to start a career? What are maybe one or two success principles that they should take to heart?
I think go back to the cliche. First of all, swim your own race. The world beyond school, just like in the swimming pool, it's a bubble. It's quite easy to navigate your life while you're in that bubble. But once you go beyond that, the distractions are immense. So you've got to learn to swim your own race. Stay focused on the details. Remember what your goals are, what your purpose is. So I'd say it's that. Um, and believe in your personal value in the sense, and I'm not saying it, be careful, it's not arrogance or anything like that. I really am a strong proponent of humility, but you're going to go through difficult times. The key is keep on keeping on and don't make your decisions based on emotions alone. There really does need to be that deeper thing driving you. And then personal responsibility. Nobody's going to do it for you. It doesn't happen unless you take that personal responsibility.
Thank you. Thank you, Penny, for sharing your insights into the future of leadership and showing us a way and reminding us that we all have to swim our own race.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Nick. Thanks for having me on your program.